Yeah, so we do hope. That's something we should look at, actually. I don't know if you've done that already, but to look at a madrasa curriculum with simple messages for children. Again, based on the Quran. It doesn't actually have to be, strictly speaking. So thank you for that. Okay.
I just had a similar question because
okay.
the sisters asked. But anyway, I'm going to ask, why is the Green Party in politics not doing so well in the poll?
Why is the Green Party not doing so well? I can't claim to know why, but I think it reflects the state of our societies. And in some of the European countries, of course, they do very well, and there are green parties in government, or at least in a coalition, which is great. But yeah, I think it's a sad reflection on Britain to some extent. And I have to mention, one of the leading national Muslim organisations endorsed the Green Party in the general election, which was a couple of years ago. You know, some of the Muslim groups, they took the politicians to task, tell us your policy, and we will try to get you block votes, etc. And I think certainly for the London area, one of the major national Muslim organisations endorsed the Green Party candidate. We had an environmental awareness day at our mosque last year, again organised by our the sisters in the mosque. And Jean Lambert came along, who's a Green MEP. And she judged the children last week, and you know, we had friends there, we had the people there running an organic store. You know, we had the Green Party there. And again, one or two other mosques we know have done similar things, and we encourage brothers and sisters here to take up these kind of initiatives in Leicester. We'd love to see similar events at some of the mosques in Leicester. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm thinking about, you know, the fact that the majority of the Muslim world, for instance, there's not much environmentalism, environmental awareness. So, for instance, a means to change is through getting just the people, and of course the politicians, or the people, or the power, I would say, involved in environmentalism. Now, in the Western world, you have a democracy, so you can have a means to change. But in the Muslim world, we don't have, I don't know, you would call it perfect, or the Islamic ideal. So how do you bring about an environmental awareness in the Muslim world? Of course, the best way is through the masjid. So that's where we always meet 5 times a day. So I mean, there's despite the economy.
Jazakallah khair. I think that's an excellent question. I agree. We have very bad governments in the Muslim world, and we have, let's be honest, we have so many dictatorships, tyrannies, oppressive monarchies. Islam, basically, you know, there's always talk about Islam and democracy. People say, is Islam compatible with democracy? And I usually answer by saying, actually, that's the wrong question. It should be the other way around. Is democracy compatible with Islam? You know, that's the question for us, really. And the answer is yes. Actually, what Islam basically says, when you study Islamic law, its principles, good government is what's required. Muslims have had different types of governments. So even a benign monarchy, one of our teachers said it's democracy we're interested in, which is the rule of law. So if it's a monarchy is good and they're looking after the people, you know, no problem. And if the king actually is on an equal with the subjects, fine. By the way, in this country, the Queen cannot be sued in her own court. So we don't have that even in this country. Even if the Queen commits a crime, she cannot be taken to court because that's her own court, Her Majesty's court. She can't be tried in her own court. But anyway, joking aside, so when you have bad government and you don't have consultation, you know, shura. Democratic societies, one of the reasons why they're so successful, of course, is that they implement the Quranic principle of shura. It says in the Quran, وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُم. People's affairs should be decided by mutual consultation. Again, this is one of the chapters of the Quran. It's called shura. Consult each other. Now, the reason why Britain is, you know, how it works so well, it's not just the Parliament or Westminster actually do probably a lot of damage, but it's a consultation at every level. So even my local primary school, they will consult the parents before they make changes. The local council, they will listen. You have community councils, etc. In industry, I've worked in industry. So in electricity, the power supply, the water, the telecom industry, the road industry, you know, traffic and transport, all of these things, whenever they do something new, like change the way you buy water, electricity, or congestion charge, or toll the motorways, they will consult the companies, the local councils, the ordinary people. And that's why we have relatively, you know, good decision-making in Britain. Good decision-making, which was once the hallmark of the Muslims. were the greatest ruler. You know, the Prophet, peace be upon him, was in a sense the greatest ruler, because he was a prophet of God, the greatest messenger, the messenger of God, the seal of the messengers of God, the greatest spiritual leader, but also the greatest temporal leader. And the caliphs were spiritual as well as the early caliphs anyway, spiritual as well as political leaders. And it's not through the mosque. The other thing I disagree with you there, the only thing there, in Islam there's actually no separation between mosque and state, church and state. We don't have the way you read church history, the way the church developed with its separate funding and the whole hierarchy. We just simply don't have that in Islam. It developed to a limited extent, but really, you know, there's no official established clergy. It's a priesthood of believers, whoever knows the most Quran leads, and people recognize their own leaders from amongst themselves. People have a sense of deference to who's better than them. So it's not only through the mosque in Muslim countries. You see, the state is the mosque. In a sense, I mean, in this country, some people say every Muslim community should have an emir. This is an ongoing discussion, you know, should you have an emir? Every community should be united and have an emir. I often say, actually, in a sense, okay, I'll get slammed again, but in a sense, our emir in London, you know who our emir in London is? It's Ken. Did you get the point? Ken Livingstone. You see, Islam makes no distinction between the sacred and secular, the civil and the religious. The person who's looking after the public welfare is doing something intensely religious. The Prophet said, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ أَنْفَعُهُمْ لِلنَّاسِ. The best people are those who benefit others the most. So somebody who's looking after your schools and your hospitals, and building your roads, and you know, dealing with crime, reducing crime so that you can have a nice, safe, peaceful life, and you can worship God and enjoy God's blessing on this earth. The people are doing that. Good politicians, rulers, leaders, decision makers. You see, they're doing something extremely religious, and good Muslim politicians understand that, and people of other faiths always have. When they're in power, it's not for themselves, it's to serve God's creation, and you take it with a sense of immense duty. So, I know we don't have time to go into all these things, but this is the way we look at it. There is what the state does, a good state, well-governed state, and the mosque is just part of that, if you like. It's just a parallel aspect of it, or two sides of the same coin, or it is the same thing. You know, the mosque is the state, if you like, or the state is the mosque, but in a very general and generous sense, not in a kind of narrow, restrictive, theocratic, if you like, sense, where you're trying to force religion down people's throats. That doesn't work, and I don't believe that's the Islamic ideal. But anyway, feel free to disagree on that. Yeah, Sister Seba.
I just sort of subjected a bit to this constant use of democracy as the benchmark of excellence, because it's presided over climate change, it's presided over lethal and genocidal wars. It's actually producing a whole generation of feral young people who shoot each other. The multiplication of gangs in the big cities. It's not. It shouldn't be or constantly invoked as this example of excellence. It's not. It's because it's not excellent that I became a Muslim, because it was clearly and visibly failing as a method of running society. So I just think we have to not say this is wonderful thing. It is not a wonderful thing, actually.
Okay, no, thank you for that. I think that's a good point. There are serious problems with democracies as well, like I said.
Not delivering justice.
Yeah, crime rate.
And it's also in this levels of say, local council level of shura, actually that's dominated by massive monopolies, like say that Andrew Sin's book Tescopoly talks about this, where he says that the supermarkets can get whatever they like from the local councils because they got the money, the funds, just to constantly take them to court. They can buy more and more lawyers until the local authority runs out of funds to actually fight them through the courts, and then they get what they want.
Oh, thank you. There are serious problems as well in democracies, and I think we have to recognise that. Okay, we're all Westerners, you know, we're Muslim Westerners, or Western Muslim. We have to recognise that. And you could point to things like state terrorism. You know, John Pilger, I agree with him. He says Al-Qaeda's terrorism is purely compared to ours. That's what he says about Western state terrorism. And you could argue America has a lot of great things about it. It's a great country, but it's also built on a genocide of the natives there. So there are contradictions. There are in every society, though. I mean, you look at the Muslim countries. You look at Saddam and Iraq. You look at Pakistan now. I lived in Pakistan for a year.
He wasn't a Muslim.
What?
He was copying the Western.
Yes, yeah.